The stars looked different today. Captain Kyung-ho stood at the window of Earth Defense Station 1, watching the space around Earth's moon. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he did not care. Something big was coming. "Sir, we have contact," Lieutenant Hae-jin called from her station. Her voice was tight with worry. "Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They are huge." Kyung-ho walked to the main screen. What he saw made his stomach drop. 12 massive ships hung in space like metal mountains. Each one was bigger than Earth's largest space station. The lead ship was so big it blocked out the stars behind it. "Run a scan," Kyung-ho said. "Tell me what we are looking at." The computers worked for several minutes. When the results came back, Hae-jin's face went pale. "Sir, the lead ship is over 10 kilometers long. The others are not much smaller. These are warships, no doubt about it." On the main screen, the alien ships moved into formation around Earth. They moved slowly, like they had all the time in the world. Like they knew Earth could not stop them. Admiral Velthar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. He was tall and thin, with blue skin that seemed to glow under the ship's lights. His forearms moved across control panels as he studied the small blue planet below. "Report," he said to his second-in-command. "The planet shows basic space travel." "Technology," the officer replied. "They have small stations around their moon and some mining operations in the asteroid belt. Nothing more advanced than chemical rockets and basic fusion drives." Velthar nodded. This was what he expected. The Galactic Council had sent his fleet to this small world because early scouts reported it was weak. The humans living there had no real weapons and no strong military. "Weapons scan?" Velthar asked. "Complete, sir. We detect no plasma cannons, no antimatter missiles. No particle beam weapons. They have some basic nuclear weapons on the planet's surface, but nothing that could threaten our ships." "Perfect," Velthar said with satisfaction. "Another easy conquest for the Council." The Galactic Council ruled most of the galaxy. They came to small worlds like Earth and offered protection. Of course, this protection meant the world had to give up its freedom and serve the Council. Most worlds had no choice but to agree. Velthar had done this many times before. His fleet would arrive, show their power, and the locals would surrender. Sometimes they fought back, but it never lasted long. Advanced weapons always won against primitive ones. "Open a channel to the planet," Velthar ordered. Down on Earth's moon, Dr. Boram worked in her laboratory. She was a small woman with quick hands and bright eyes. Around her, machines hummed and sparked as they ran complex calculations. "Dr. Boram," her assistant Taemin called from across the room. "Are you seeing the news feeds from Earth?" Boram looked up from her work. "What news?" "Alien ships, 12 of them. They just arrived in our solar system." Boram's heart began to beat faster. She had been working on her project for 3 years, ever since Earth's first contact with aliens had gone badly. The aliens had been friendly then, but they had also been weak. These new aliens sounded different. "Show me," she said. Taemin brought up the video feeds on the main screen. Boram watched the massive alien ships and felt a chill run down her spine. These were warships. This was an invasion. "How long until they reach Earth?" she asked. "They are already here," Taemin said. "They are in orbit now." Boram looked at her experiment. 3 years of work, and it was still not ready. She had been trying to build something that no one had ever built before. Something that would not look like a weapon to alien scanners, but could still protect Earth. The problem was that aliens expected weapons to look a certain way. They expected big guns and missile launchers. They expected things that exploded or shot beams of energy. Boram was trying to build something completely different. Back on the space station, Kyung-ho received the alien message. It appeared on every screen at once, in perfect Korean, English, and dozens of other Earth languages. "People of Earth," the message began. "I am Admiral Velthar of the Galactic Council Fleet. We have scanned your world and found that you possess no weapons capable of threatening our ships. Therefore, we are here to offer you our protection." Kyung-ho knew what this really meant. It was the same message that had been sent to dozens of other worlds. "Accept our protection or be destroyed. Your world will be placed under Council oversight," the message continued. "Council representatives will be stationed on your planet. To help guide your development, your military forces will be disbanded. Your weapons will be destroyed. In return, you will receive the benefits of Council membership." The message ended with a time limit. Earth had 72 hours to surrender. Kyung-ho looked around the bridge at his crew. They all looked scared. Earth's space fleet consisted of 20 small patrol ships and a few mining vessels. Against 12 alien dreadnoughts, they might as well be throwing rocks. "Sir," Heijin said quietly, "what do we do?" Before Kyung-ho could answer, another message came through. This one was from Earth's government. All military forces were ordered to stand down. Earth was going to surrender without a fight. But Kyung-ho was not ready to give up. He thought about his daughter, who was only 8 years old. He thought about all the children on Earth who would grow up as slaves to alien masters. "Haijin," he said, "send a message to all our ships. Tell them to pull back but stay ready, and get me a secure line to Dr. Boram on the moon." "Sir, the government ordered us to stand down." "The government is afraid," Kyung-ho replied. "But fear is not always the right choice." When Boram's face appeared on the screen, she looked tired but determined. "Doctor," Kyung-ho said, "how long until your project is ready?" "It is not ready," Boram replied. "I need more time, maybe months." "We do not have months. We have 3 days." Boram was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "I will do what I can." As the first day passed, the alien ships waited patiently in orbit. They had done this before. They knew that most worlds needed time to accept their fate. But deep in her lunar laboratory, Boram worked without sleeping. Her project was based on a simple idea that was incredibly hard to make real. Instead of building a weapon that destroyed things by hitting them or burning them, she was trying to build something that would convince the universe itself to stop holding things together. It sounded crazy, even to her. But she had seen the math work. If she could generate the right kind of field at the right frequency, she could weaken the forces that held atoms together. She could make something that looked completely harmless to alien scanners, but could unmake their ships at the most basic level. The aliens would never see it coming because they would never think to look for it. They were used to fighting enemies who built bigger and better versions of the same old weapons. They were not used to fighting enemies who tried to rewrite the rules of physics. As the second day began, Earth's governments prepared for surrender. But in space stations and hidden laboratories around the solar system, a small group of humans prepared for something else entirely. They were going to show these aliens that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who looks completely harmless. The surrender ceremony was supposed to be simple. Earth's leaders would sign the papers, and the Galactic Council would take control. But nothing about humans was ever simple. Commander Jin Woo crouched behind a pile of metal scraps in the ruins of what used to be Seoul's spaceport. 3 days had passed since the aliens arrived. Earth had officially surrendered, but Jin Woo had not gotten the message. Or maybe he had gotten it and decided to ignore it. "They are coming," whispered Sung Min, one of his team members, "two of their patrol craft heading this way." Jin Woo looked through his binoculars at the alien vehicles. They floated above the ground without making any sound. Their hulls were smooth and silver, and they moved like they were swimming through the air. "Remember," Jin Woo said to his team, "do not use anything that looks like a weapon. They can detect energy weapons and explosives from kilometers away." His team nodded. They had learned this the hard way over the past 3 days. Every time someone tried to use a real weapon against the aliens detected it and destroyed it before it could fire. But Jin Woo had noticed something interesting. The aliens only detected things they recognized as weapons. Their sensors looked for certain energy patterns and certain types of metal. If something did not fit their idea of what a weapon should be, they ignored it. "Now," Jin Woo whispered. His team stood up and threw their weapons at the alien patrol craft. But these were not normal weapons. They were cooking pots filled with industrial acid, kitchen knives tied to drone motors, children's toy rockets loaded with fertilizer and metal scraps. The aliens' sensors did not react because they did not recognize these objects as threats. By the time the pilots realized what was happening, it was too late. Acid ate through their hull armor. Spinning knives cut their control cables. Toy rockets exploded against their engines. Both patrol craft crashed to the ground in clouds of smoke and sparks. Jin Woo's team cheered, but he held up his hand for quiet. "Move fast," he said. "More will come soon." On the moon, Dr. Bo-Ram stared at her equations until her eyes hurt. She had been working for 4 days straight without sleep. Her hands shook as she made small changes to her machine. "Dr. Bo-Ram," Taemin said gently, "you need to rest." "No time," she replied without looking up. "The aliens are getting suspicious. Yesterday they destroyed a resistance cell in Tokyo. Today they hit 2 more in Europe. They are getting tired of playing games." Taemin looked at the machine they had been building. It looked like a large metal box covered in wires and strange-shaped parts. To anyone else, it would look like broken communications equipment. Even to most scientists, it would look like useless junk. But Bo-Ram knew better. Inside that box was the most dangerous weapon ever built by human hands. It just did not look like a weapon. "How does it work again?" Taemin asked. He had heard the explanation before, but it still seemed impossible. "Everything in the universe is held together by forces," Bo-Ram explained. "Strong nuclear force holds the centers of atoms together. Weak nuclear force controls radioactive decay. Electromagnetic force holds electrons to atoms. Gravity holds planets to stars." She pointed to her machine. "This device creates a field that weakens the strong nuclear force in a small area. When that happens, atomic nuclei cannot hold together anymore. They just fall apart." "And that destroys the target?" "Not destroys," Bo-Ram corrected. "Unmakes. The target stops existing as matter and becomes a cloud of subatomic particles." Taemin felt a chill. "That is terrifying." "Yes," Bo-Ram agreed. "But the aliens will never see it coming. Their sensors look for energy weapons and explosive devices. This machine produces almost no energy signature. To their scanners, it will look like a simple radio transmitter." Back on Earth, the aliens were starting to get annoyed. Admiral Velthar stood in his command center, reading reports from across the planet. Humans were fighting back, but not in any way he understood. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, We lost 2 more patrol craft today, but our sensors detected no weapons fire. How is that possible? Velthar demanded. Unknown, sir. The craft simply malfunctioned and crashed. Our engineers think the humans are using some kind of electronic interference, but they cannot detect the source. Velthar's 4 arms gestured in frustration. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen anything like this. Usually primitive. Worlds tried to fight with their best weapons and lost quickly. These humans seemed to be fighting with no weapons at all, and somehow winning. Double the patrols, he ordered, and start scanning for any technology we might have missed. On Earth's surface, engineer So Young worked in an abandoned factory outside of Busan. Around her, dozens of humans built devices that looked like household appliances, but were actually sophisticated weapons. How many more do we need? Asked her assistant, a young man named Dong Su. As many as we can make, So Young replied. She held up what looked like a toaster. This one jams their communication frequencies. The frequency modulation makes their computer systems think they are receiving routine status updates, but actually overloads their processing cores. She pointed to another device that looked like a vacuum cleaner. That one generates a magnetic field that interferes with their navigation systems. They will think they are flying straight, but actually, they will be flying in circles. The key to everything was understanding how the aliens thought. They had been the dominant power in the galaxy for thousands of years. They were used to fighting enemies who built bigger versions of the same weapons they used. They had never fought an enemy that built completely different kinds of weapons. So Young's devices worked because they used principles the aliens had forgotten. The aliens had become so advanced that they had lost the ability to recognize simple solutions to complex problems. So Young, Dong Su said, looking worried. What if they figure out what we are doing? Then we build something else, she replied. The advantage of being primitive is that we can afford to think like primitives. Meanwhile, Captain Kyung-ho coordinated the resistance from his hidden command center in an asteroid mining station. He had reports coming in from all over the solar system. Humans were fighting back in dozens of small ways, and somehow it was working. Sir, Lieutenant He Jin reported, the aliens have lost 17 patrol craft in the last 2 days. They are getting more aggressive in their search patterns. Good, Kyung-ho said. That means they are getting frustrated. Frustrated enemies make mistakes. He looked at the tactical display showing alien ship positions. The big ships stayed in high orbit, but they had sent hundreds of smaller craft down to patrol Earth's surface. Each one that was destroyed was a small victory. Any word from Dr. Boram? He asked. She says she needs 2 more days, He Jin replied. But sir, I am not sure we have 2 more days. The aliens are talking about making an example of some human cities. Kyung-ho nodded grimly. He knew that time was running out. The aliens would not stay patient forever. Eventually, they would decide that controlling a dead planet was better than dealing with constant resistance. But he also knew that humans had one advantage the aliens could never understand. When humans were backed into a corner, they did not give up. They got creative. On the alien flagship, Velthar met with his council of war. The blue-skinned admiral was no longer confident about this easy conquest. Report, he demanded. The humans continue to resist, his intelligence officer said. But we cannot determine how they are destroying our patrol craft. They appear to have no weapons, yet our losses continue to mount. Sir, another officer added, perhaps we should simply destroy their major cities from orbit. That will end their resistance quickly. Velthar considered this. It would be easy to turn Earth's cities to glass with his ship's main guns. But the Galactic Council preferred to conquer worlds intact. Dead planets were not very useful. Not yet, he decided. Double our scanning efforts. These humans must have weapons somewhere. Find them. But as his officers worked to find the human weapons, they were looking for the wrong things. They scanned for energy signatures and metal concentrations. They looked for factories and military bases. They never thought to scan for kitchen appliances and children's toys. They never imagined that their most dangerous enemy might be a small woman working alone in a lunar laboratory, building a weapon out of spare parts that would convince the universe itself to forget how to hold their ships together. The war for Earth was just beginning, and neither side truly understood what they were fighting. The alien patrol ship exploded over Tokyo, but there had been no missile strike, no energy beam, no explosion at all, really. One moment the ship was flying normally, and the next moment it was falling from the sky in pieces. Commander Jin-Woo watched from his hiding spot on a rooftop. Next to him, So-Young held a device that looked like a broken radio. She had been working on it for weeks, and today was the first time they had tested it in combat. "Did it work?" Jin-Woo asked. So-Young smiled. "Better than I hoped. I sent a signal that made their computer think it was receiving normal telemetry data. But hidden in that data was a virus that caused their navigation system to reverse all control inputs. So when the pilot tried to fly straight, the ship turned upside down instead. When he tried to level off, the ship dove toward the ground. By the time he figured out what was wrong, it was too late." Jin-Woo shook his head in amazement. A week ago, So-Young had been designing air conditioning systems for office buildings. Now she was building weapons that could bring down alien spacecraft, using nothing but radio signals. "How many more of these can you make?" he asked. "Give me access to an electronics factory and I can make hundreds," So-Young replied. "The aliens keep scanning for weapons, but they never scan for consumer electronics. To them, a radio is just a radio." On the moon, Dr. Bo-Ram finally allowed herself to sleep for 4 hours. When she woke up, Tae-min had coffee waiting for her. "Any progress while I was sleeping?" she asked. "The field generator is stable," Tae-min reported. "But I am still worried about the targeting system. How do we make sure it only affects the alien ship and not everything around it?" Bo-Ram looked at her calculations one more time. This was the hardest part of the whole project. Her weapon worked by weakening the strong nuclear force in a specific area of space. But if the field was too large, it would affect more than just the target. If it was too small, it might miss completely. "We test it," she said finally. "There is an old mining satellite in orbit around the asteroid belt. It has been abandoned for years. We can use it as a target. And if the test fails, then we try again and again until we get it right." Tae-min looked nervous. "Dr. Bo-Ram, what if this weapon is too dangerous? What if we cannot control it?" Bo-Ram understood his concern. What they were building was not just a weapon. It was a way to convince the universe to stop following its own rules. In the wrong hands, it could unmake entire planets. "That is why we must be very careful about how we use it," she said. "This weapon can only be fired once. After that, the aliens will know what to look for. We have to make it count." Back on Earth, Captain Kyung-ho received reports that made him smile for the first time in days. The resistance was growing stronger every hour. Humans all over the world were finding new ways to fight back, using things the aliens did not recognize as weapons. In Moscow, a group of computer programmers had hacked into the alien communication network using modified video game systems. In Lagos farmers were using crop dusting equipment to spray alien patrol craft with chemicals that ate through their armor. In Sydney, children were launching modified toy drones that attached themselves to alien vehicles and played loud music until the pilots went deaf. "Sir," Lieutenant He Jin reported, "the aliens have started clustering their patrols together for protection. They are also requesting reinforcements from their main fleet." "How many reinforcements?" Kyung-ho asked. "Unknown." "But, sir, we are intercepting their communications. They are very confused. Their battle reports do not make sense to their commanders." Kyung-ho brought up the intercepted alien messages on his screen. Most of them had been translated by the computer, and they made for interesting reading. Patrol 7 reports total system failure during routine flight. No weapons detected prior to incident. Patrol 12 requests immediate medical assistance. Crew suffering from severe audio trauma. Source unknown. Patrol 15 has lost navigation control. Ship responding to commands in reverse. Suspect human electronic interference, but no interference detected by sensors. Admiral Velthar was beginning to understand that he had made a serious mistake. The humans were not fighting like any enemy he had ever faced. They were not even fighting like an enemy at all. They were fighting like engineers trying to solve a problem. "Sir," his science officer reported, "we have completed detailed scans of the human planet. We found no weapons factories, no military bases, no energy signatures consistent with advanced weapons." "Then how are they destroying our ships?" Velthar demanded. "Unknown, sir. Our ships are suffering from what appears to be random equipment failures. Navigation systems malfunction. Communication arrays overload. Life support systems play loud music. None of these failures match any known weapons technology." Velthar's 4 hands drummed against his command chair. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. The humans seemed to be defeating his advanced technology using their primitive technology. It made no sense. "Perhaps," suggested his weapons officer, "the humans have allies, another species that is helping them." "What species?" Velthar asked. "We control this entire region of space. There are no unknown civilizations here." "Then how do you explain our losses?" Velthar had no answer. On Earth's surface, the resistance was evolving faster than anyone had expected. Jin Woo now commanded cells in every major city, and each cell had developed its own unique methods of fighting back. The Soul Cell specialized in electronic warfare, using modified consumer electronics to disrupt alien systems. The New York Cell focused on chemical attacks, using industrial compounds to damage alien equipment. The London Cell had become experts at mechanical sabotage, using simple tools to disable complex alien machines. But the most successful cell was in Mumbai, where a group of software engineers had figured out how to hack alien computers using smartphone apps. They had discovered that alien artificial intelligence was extremely sophisticated, but also extremely literal-minded. If you sent it data that was technically correct but formatted incorrectly, the AI would spend hours trying to parse the information and ignore everything else. "Jin Woo," So Young said during one of their strategy meetings, "I think I understand why this is working. Tell me. The aliens have been the dominant species for thousands of years. They have not had to innovate in a long time. Their technology is advanced, but it is also old. They have forgotten how to think outside their established patterns. So they expect their enemies to build better versions of the weapons they already understand. They expect bigger guns, stronger armor, faster ships. They do not expect enemies to invent completely new kinds of weapons." Jin Woo nodded slowly. We are not trying to beat their technology. We are trying to confuse it. Exactly. Their sensors look for threats they recognize. Their computers respond to attacks they understand. Their tactics are designed to counter strategies they have seen before. But we are doing things they have never seen before. Meanwhile, on the asteroid belt mining station that Dr. Boram was using as a target, an automated probe approached the abandoned facility. The probe was actually her weapon, disguised as a routine maintenance robot. Field generator is active, Taemin reported from the lunar laboratory. Targeting system is locked on. Range to target? Boram asked. 15 kilometers and closing. Boram took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. If her weapon worked, the mining station would simply cease to exist. If it failed, they would have to start over from the beginning. Activate the field, she ordered. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The mining station continued to tumble slowly through space, reflecting sunlight off its metal hull. Then, in the space of a single second, the entire station disappeared. One moment it was there, and the next moment there was nothing but a cloud of subatomic particles dispersing into the vacuum. Target eliminated, Taemin said in a shaky voice. The mining station is gone. Boram stared at the empty space where the station had been. Her weapon had worked perfectly, too perfectly. She had just proved that humans could build a device that convinced matter to stop being matter. Dr. Boram, Taemin said quietly, what have we done? She did not answer immediately. What they had done was create the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. A weapon that looked like harmless junk to alien sensors. A weapon that could unmake anything from a single ship to an entire planet. We have given humanity a chance, she said finally. Now we need to use it wisely. The test was over. The weapon worked. Now came the hard part, using it to save Earth without destroying themselves in the process. Admiral Velthar had reached the end of his patience. For 2 weeks, his forces had been losing ships to an enemy that seemed to have no weapons. His crews were becoming nervous, and his superiors in the Galactic Council were asking uncomfortable questions. Enough, he declared to his command staff. We have tried to conquer this world peacefully. The humans refuse to cooperate. It is time to show them the price of resistance. His weapons officer looked relieved. Which targets, sir? Pick 3 of their largest cities, Velthar ordered. Reduce them to ash. That will end their rebellion quickly. The order went out to the fleet's main guns. In 1 hour, 3 human cities would be destroyed from orbit. The humans would surrender, or more cities would follow. On the lunar base, Dr. Boram received an emergency message from Captain Kyung-ho. The aliens were preparing to attack civilian targets. She had 1 hour to stop them. Is the weapon ready? Kyung-ho asked over the secure channel. The weapon works, Boram replied. But I only have 1 shot. If I miss, or if the aliens detect it before it reaches the target, we lose everything. Then do not miss, Kyung-ho said simply. Boram looked at her device. It was mounted inside what appeared to be a simple communications satellite. To alien sensors, it would look like routine space junk. But hidden inside its innocent-looking shell was the power to unmake matter itself. Taemin, she said to her assistant, launch the satellite. Which target? He asked. Boram studied the alien fleet formation. The alien flagship was in the center, surrounded by protective escorts. It would be the hardest target to reach, but it was also the most important. If she could destroy the flagship, the other ships might retreat. The big one, she said. The Eternal Dominion. The satellite launched from the lunar base using a standard commercial rocket. To anyone watching, it looked like routine maintenance of Earth's communication network. The satellite's trajectory would take it past the alien fleet, close enough for Dr. Boram's weapon to activate. On Earth, the Resistance prepared for what might be their final battle. Commander Jin Woo coordinated with So Young and dozens of other cell leaders around the world. If Dr. Boram's weapon fails, Jin Woo said, we need to be ready to hit them with everything we have. Everything we have is kitchen appliances and toy rockets, So Young pointed out. Then we hit them with kitchen appliances and toy rockets, Jin Woo replied. Maybe we cannot win, but we can make sure they remember us. On the alien flagship, Velthar watched the countdown timer. 30 minutes until the human cities would be destroyed. His crew worked efficiently, preparing the ship's massive weapons for bombardment. Sir, his sensor officer reported, we are detecting a small satellite approaching our position. It appears to be a communications relay. Ignore it, Velthar ordered. Focus on the bombardment targets. The satellite drifted closer to the alien fleet. Inside its simple metal shell, Dr. Boram's weapon waited for the activation signal. 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. On the lunar base, Dr. Boram watched the satellite's position on her tracking screen. She had calculated the optimal distance for the weapon to activate. Too close, and the aliens might detect the energy field. Too far, and the field might not affect the entire ship. Distance to target? She asked Tae-min. 8 kilometers and closing. Prepare to activate the field. Captain Kyung-ho watched from his command center as the alien ships prepared to fire. He had sent warnings to the target cities, but there was nowhere for millions of people to hide. From orbital bombardment, Dr. Boram, he said over the communications link, whatever you are going to do it now. 5 kilometers to target, Tae-min reported. Dr. Boram's hand hovered over the activation control. She thought about all the people on Earth who were about to die if her weapon failed. She thought about her own daughter, who was visiting her grandmother in Seoul, one of the target cities. 4 kilometers. She thought about the math she had, spent 3 years perfecting. The field equations that would convince the strong nuclear force to take a brief vacation. The targeting system that would focus the effect on just one ship. 3 kilometers. She thought about Admiral Velthar and his crew, who were about to learn what happened when you threatened a species that could weaponize the fundamental forces of reality. 2 kilometers. Optimal distance achieved, Dr. Boram pressed the activation control. For a moment, nothing happened. The alien flagship continued on its course, its weapons still charging for bombardment. The satellite drifted past the fleet, looking exactly like what it was supposed to be. Then the field activated. In a sphere of space exactly 1 kilometer in radius, centered on the alien flagship, the strong nuclear force weakened by exactly 0.3%. It was a tiny change, barely measurable. But it was enough. Every atomic nucleus in the alien ship suddenly found itself unable to hold together. Protons and neutrons, which had been bound together by fundamental forces for billions of years, simply let go of each other. The Eternal Dominion did not explode. It did not burn or melt or break apart. It simply stopped being a ship and became a cloud of subatomic particles. Admiral Velthar had just enough time to realize that something was wrong before he stopped being Admiral Velthar and became part of the expanding cloud of matter that had once been his flagship. The other alien. Ships watched in absolute terror as their command vessel vanished. One moment it was there, solid and real and powerful. The next moment there was nothing but empty space and a faint haze of particles. "What happened?" demanded the captain of the nearest escort ship. "Where did the flagship go?" His sensor officer. stared at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, the ship is gone. Not destroyed, gone. There is no debris, no energy signature, no trace that it ever existed." "That is impossible." "Yes, sir. But, sir, it happened anyway." On Earth, Captain Kyung-ho watched the alien fleet on his screens. The remaining ships were pulling back from Earth orbit, their formations breaking apart in panic. "Hey, Jin," he said to his communications officer, "open a channel to the alien fleet." "Channel open, sir." Kyung-ho took a deep breath. This was the most important speech he would ever give. "Alien ships," he said calmly. "This is Captain Kyung-ho of Earth Defense. As you have just seen, we do possess weapons capable of threatening your vessels. We offer you one chance to leave our solar system, peacefully." The response came quickly from the alien fleet. "Earthship, how did you destroy our flagship?" "We detected no weapons fire." "That is correct," Kyung-ho replied. "We did not fire any weapons. We simply asked the universe very politely to stop holding your ship together." There was a long silence from the alien fleet. "You are claiming that you can manipulate fundamental forces?" "We are not claiming anything," Kyung-ho said. "We are demonstrating it. Your flagship is gone. Would you like us to demonstrate our capabilities on another ship?" Another silence, longer this time. Finally, the alien fleet commander responded. "We are withdrawing from your system. But this is not over. The Galactic Council will want to know how you accomplished this." "Feel free to tell them," Kyung-ho replied. "Tell them that humans have no weapons, and tell them that this makes us the most dangerous species in the galaxy." The alien ships began to move away from Earth, accelerating toward the edge of the solar system. On the lunar base, Dr. Bo Ram collapsed into her chair, exhausted. "It worked," Taman said in amazement. "Your weapon actually worked." "Of course it worked," Bo Ram replied. "The math was perfect." "But Dr. Bo Ram, what if they come back? What if they bring more ships?" Bo Ram smiled tiredly. "Then we will have to convince the universe to stop holding those ships together too." She looked at her weapon, now depleted and useless. It had taken 3 years to build and could only be used once. But it had saved Earth and shown the galaxy that humans were not as helpless as they appeared. The war was over, but the legend of the weaponless humans who could unmake starships was just beginning. 3 months after the aliens left, Captain Kyung-ho stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall in New York. Representatives from every nation on Earth had gathered to hear his report on what the media was calling the 72-hour war. "The alien fleet has not returned," Kyung-ho reported. "Our deep space monitoring stations show no signs of approaching ships. For now, Earth is safe." "For now," repeated the Secretary General. "What about later? What happens when word spreads through the galaxy about what we did?" Dr. Bo Ram stood up from her seat in the audience. She had been invited to attend as the creator of humanity's ultimate weapon, though few people understood exactly what she had built. "May I answer that?" she asked. "Please, Dr. Bo Ram, the floor is yours." Bo Ram walked to the podium. She looked tired but confident. Building the weapon had taken everything she had, but she was already working on new projects. "3 days ago, we received a message from the Galactic Council," she began. "It was not a threat. It was a request for information." Murmurs ran through the assembly. This was the first anyone had heard of communication from the aliens. "What kind of information?" asked the Secretary General. "They want to know how we destroyed their flagship," Bo Ram replied. They have been studying the sensor data from their surviving ships, and they cannot understand what happened. To them, the Eternal Dominion simply vanished for no reason. What did we tell them? The truth. We told them that we have learned to manipulate the fundamental forces that hold matter together. We told them that we can build weapons that their sensors cannot detect. And we told them that we prefer to be left alone. And their response? Boram smiled. They have declared Earth to be a protected system. No galactic council ships are allowed within 50 light years of our solar system. Without special permission, the assembly erupted in cheers. Earth had not just won its freedom. It had scared the galaxy's most powerful empire so badly that they had created a quarantine zone around the entire solar system. But, Boram continued, raising her hand for quiet, this protection comes with a price. The galaxy now sees us as a dangerous unknown. They fear us, and fear makes people do stupid things. Commander Jin Woo, who had been invited as the leader of the resistance, stood up from his seat. Dr. Boram is right. We have won this battle, but the war may not be over. Other species may try to test us, or they may try to destroy us before we become too powerful. What do you recommend? Asked the Secretary General. We prepare, Jin Woo replied. We build more weapons like Dr. Boram's device. We train more people to think like the resistance fighters. And we make sure that anyone who threatens Earth learns why the galaxy fears us. In the months that followed, Earth changed rapidly. The old ideas about military strength were thrown away. Instead of building bigger ships and stronger weapons, humanity focused on building smarter weapons and stranger weapons. Dr. Boram led a new research team that included So Young and dozens of other brilliant minds from around the world. Their laboratory, hidden in a converted asteroid mining facility, became the most secure location in the solar system. What are we working on today? Asked Taemin during one of their daily briefings. 3 projects, Boram replied. First, a weapon that convinces gravity to work backwards in a small area. Second, a device that makes electromagnetic forces repel instead of attract. Third, something that changes the speed of light in a localized region of space. And they will all look like harmless equipment to alien sensors? The gravity weapon will look like a broken mining laser. The electromagnetic device will look like a damaged power relay. The light speed manipulator will look like a malfunctioning navigation beacon. So Young, who had become Dr. Boram's chief engineer, added her own report. I am also working on delivery systems. We can hide our weapons inside commercial satellites, space debris, even asteroids. By the time an enemy detects them, it will be too late. How many weapons do we need? Asked Taemin. Enough to protect Earth, Boram replied, but not so many that we become the monsters we are fighting against. This was the constant worry that kept Boram awake at night. Humanity now possessed the power to unmake matter itself. In the right hands, that power could protect Earth from any threat. In the wrong hands, it could destroy entire star systems. 6 months after the aliens left, Earth received its first visitor from the galaxy. But this visitor was not a warship. It was a single small craft carrying a diplomatic delegation from a species called the Karathi. Captain Kyung-ho, now promoted to admiral, met with the alien diplomats in a space station orbiting Mars. The meeting was tense, with both sides uncertain about the other's intentions. We come in peace, the lead Karathi diplomat explained through a translation device. Our species has been enslaved by the Galactic Council for 300 years. We heard what you did to their fleet. We want to learn how you achieved your freedom. What exactly did you hear? Kyung-ho asked. That humans have no weapons, yet destroyed a council dreadnought without firing a shot. That you convinced matter to simply stop existing. That you can manipulate the laws of physics themselves. Kyung-ho chose his words carefully. Some of those things are true. Others are exaggerated. But yes, we have developed new types of weapons. Will you share this technology with us? No. The Karathi diplomat looked disappointed but not surprised. We expected this answer, but perhaps we can offer an alliance. We have knowledge of council technology and tactics. We could help you prepare for their return. The council will return? Eventually. They cannot allow a species like yours to exist freely. It sets a bad example for the rest of the galaxy. They will gather a larger fleet and try again. Kyung-ho reported this conversation to Earth's leaders. After much debate, they decided to form a limited alliance with the Karathi. Earth would share some defensive technologies, but never the secret of the reality weapons. Over the following year, more species approached Earth seeking alliances. Word had spread through the galaxy about the humans who had no weapons, but could unmake starships. Some species wanted to learn these abilities. Others wanted protection from the Galactic Council. A few wanted to hire humans as mercenaries. Earth turned down most of these requests, but carefully selected a few allies. The goal was to build a network of independent worlds that could support each other against Council aggression. Dr. Boram continued her research, but she also began training other scientists in the principles of reality manipulation. She was careful to choose only people who understood the enormous responsibility that came with such power. Remember, she told her students, these weapons are not tools of conquest. They are tools of protection. We use them to defend ourselves and our allies, never to attack those who have not threatened us. But what if the Council attacks again, with a larger fleet? Asked one student. Then we remind them why they were afraid of us in the first place, Boram replied. 2 years after the first alien invasion, that reminder became necessary. A Galactic Council fleet of 50 ships approached Earth's solar system. This time, they did not come to conquer. They came to negotiate. Admiral Kyung-ho met with the Council delegation at the edge of the solar system. The Council's new admiral was a cautious being who had studied every detail of the previous fleet's destruction. We come to discuss a formal treaty, the Council admiral announced. The galaxy needs stability. Your species threatens that stability. How? Kyung-ho asked. You have shown other species that rebellion against the Council is possible. Several worlds have declared independence in the past year. They claim to have human weapons, though we know they do not. And this is our fault? Your example has inspired chaos. We need to reach an understanding. The negotiations took weeks, but eventually a treaty was signed. Earth and its allies would be left alone in exchange for a promise not to share reality, manipulation technology with other species. The Galactic Council would control the rest of the galaxy, but they would treat their subjects better to prevent further rebellions. It was not a perfect solution, but it was peace. Dr. Boram, now in her 50s, continued her research in her lunar laboratory. She had achieved something no one thought possible. She had convinced the most powerful empire in the galaxy to leave Earth alone by building weapons that did not look like weapons. Do you think the peace will last? Taemin asked her one day. For a while, Boram replied. But eventually, someone will test us again. When that happens, we will be ready. She looked at her latest creation, a device that could make time flow backwards in a small area of space. To alien sensors, it looked like a broken clock. The universe has rules, she said. But the universe is also very polite. If you ask nicely and know the right words, it will bend those rules for you. And we know the right words? We are learning them, Boram said with a smile. And that is what makes us the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Outside her laboratory window, Earth turned slowly in the darkness of space. It was a small blue world with no visible weapons and no threatening military. To any passing alien, it would look completely harmless. And that, Boram knew, was exactly how she wanted it to look.